So if you've known me for any length of time or watched my videos for any length of time, you might have noticed that there are a few things I don't compromise on when it comes to vehicle maintenance. One of them is the health of the engine. And the health of the engine can be summarized as fluids, coolant, and engine oil. You know, without engine oil, your engine is not going to last long, if at all. And if you don't have an engine, you have a lawn ornament because your car is pretty much useless. So how do you check on your oil? So this is an Infiniti M56 2011, and there are cars out there that will tell you about your oil life when it is time to change your oil. And with these guys, they just give you a manual and they tell you within these miles, go get an oil change. Some other fancier cars will even tell you when you're running low on oil. Well, not this guy. This one has a time-tested device used for checking your oil level, and it's called a dipstick. There it is. In most Nissans I've dealt with, it's a yellow thing. In the Infiniti M56, it is actually on the left bank. If you sit in the driver's seat, this is your left bank. But when you pop your hood, it's going to be in the right. It's pretty much the only stick in here because you don't have a transmission dipstick. But so here you go. We're going to read the oil level. So what we do, you could pull it up immediately if you wanted to and get a read on it. It's looking about halfway here. Oh snap. But if you flip it the other way, it looks like it's just a little less than half. So what we're going to do anyway is wipe it. Stick it back in there. This time whatever was the rear side will be the front side and vice versa. Stick it in there. Pull it out again. So again, here we see it looks like it's right under a third. Well, right about a third. Good thing the oil is real dirty, so kind of gives you a good idea. But the backside gives an even less reading. So does it matter? Well, maybe. Let's talk about why one side has humps, the other side has dips. Let's get a little closer to the camera. So you'll notice that your dipstick over here has engravings of two letters. One is an L down here, and you have an H up here. So let's try to get a little closer. Well, you can almost see them. Just take my word for it. If you had better lighting, you'd see it. On the back side, you have nothing. It's rather smooth. I mean, you can see the L backwards and the H backwards, but it shouldn't really matter because the H and the L correspond to low level and high level. And the difference, the distance converted to capacity, so the difference in capacity from oil that is here to a level that is here is 1 quart. Which means if your oil was right at this mark, that is the minimum amount of oil you should have in your dipstick. Likewise, if your oil was at the top mark, that is the highest amount of oil you should have in your engine. If it was halfway, you're half full and you need to top up with about half a quart. Well, technically it should be fine to be anywhere in the range, but seeing that this engine here consumed about half a quart in 1,000 miles, I'd rather not take my chances and have it as close as possible to the top hole, to the maximum level, which means, I mean, half a quart for 1,000 miles means in 2,000 miles it burns the whole quart. So if you were the kind of person to say leave it at the bottom spot, right, which is going to be 1 quart less, and then you drove the car for 4,000 miles, or maybe let's say you actually had it all the way at the top, but you drove the car for 4,000 miles, you're going to end up being 2 quarts short. Now this sump doesn't take too much oil. I mean, it's 6.5 or 6 3/8 for the rear wheel drive. So 6 quarts of oil minus 2 quarts, I don't like the chances. It just seems like you're running way too low. So my preference is to have it as close as possible to the top hole. But again, it's really up to you. You know yourself and you know what kind of discipline you have to check your oil level often. But either way, what I'm going to preach, what I'm going to stand in the street corners and shout every day is that you need to check your oil level. No matter what your reminder says, 3,000 miles, whatever it is, if you have a VK56 VD engine, if you have a modern high-performing engine, you better check your oil often. All right? So, there's another part to all this. This is a simple part. This is what should actually take you no more than 2 minutes to do this part, right? But now we're going to do it at different conditions. I'd like to reiterate and to show the importance of checking your oil level in the right conditions. That is the right elevation and giving it the right amount of time to drain into the pan. So let's see what my experiments yielded, okay? And back we go. Look at that slope. It's not too bad, is it? I mean, you can definitely tell that the car is facing down, but it's not too dramatic, right? So I've mentioned this in prior videos, that when you check your engine oil, your car needs to be flat. So let's look at this one. Pretty high, right? It's way above max. So what we're going to do is wipe it. It's all clean. Let's see what you actually see. The engine is cold. I've not started it at all today. Okay, pull up. One thing's for sure, the oil is dirty. Alright, so you see that? It's still above max. You see how far it goes? It's right above the H. That's where the meniscus of the oil ends. So it's not exactly accurate. And well, I'm going to try this experiment one facing up, you know, with the nose closer to the garage, just so we can see what the level looks like. Today it's raining, yeah, but I parked it in the same spot, just turned the other way. And what we're going to try to do, I mean, I drove it for a day, but not too aggressively. So I'm going to try to check the oil level when it's facing the other direction. Let's wipe it clean first. Alright, we wiped it. Let's check it now. Pull out. It's right at max. Well, just a little below, right? A little different than yesterday. Well, that's a little more true. I'll use the backside reading. So maybe not really an eighth, a seventh, or a sixth from the top hole. Alright, cool. And now we're in the garage. The car's been sitting for about 3 or so hours. So it's relatively flat. Let's see what the new level is. Alright, before wipe, let's see what we can see here. Pretty decent, right? It's just a little above max on that side, but let's read the back side. We said that's where it's a little more accurate, right? So it looks like it's right at the top hole, but I'm going to wipe it and check it out again. It always seems to take longer when you're recording a video. Okay, so above max on the front, just right at the top hole, according to the rear side of it. So I guess that's what I'm going to do. Always read it from the back, or the front. Just choose one and stick to it. Okay, so it's been either a little overfilled, or it's really good and it does not consume any oil at all. You believe whichever one you want to do. So, well, oil change ready. And part of what I'm trying to do with this car is I determined with the VK45DE that I did not like using Mobil 1. But for this one, I'm going to be using Mobil 1. The all-wheel drive one takes 6.5 quarts, if I remember correctly. That is when you change the filter as well. The rear-wheel drive takes 6 3/8 of a quart. But the oil filter I have is kind of small, so what you do, you don't just fill it up with 6.5 quarts, because that's what the manual says. Put in about 6, and then just start reading, and just keep an eye on it. All right. So that's it for. It's a miscellaneous video, really, on the M56 and checking oil level. That it does matter when you when you check your oil level on when your car is not perfectly flat. I haven't really done much to do with time, but from prior videos you already know that if you check it immediately, well, what I could do is actually this. I'll start the car, then turn it off because I want the oil to be kind of warm when I drain it. So start the car, then turn it off, and within 5 minutes or so, just check it out, check the oil level immediately. So let's do that. Good enough for me. Okay, so again, the car is flat. Take a reading almost immediately, and you'll notice oil is all over, and it's not really concentrated anywhere. Let's check the back side. Yeah, likewise. So since we're trying to be ridiculous right now, let's wipe it down. Can you hear that ticking sound? All right, let's stick it back in. Pull it out. And there you go. This is within the same time frame. As you notice, the car had not really sat, not for long at all. And this is what a full level looks like. It's about a third of a quart too low when you read it too early. So we're going to stick it back in, and let's wait for the recommended time according to the manual while I get everything ready. The manual calls for a minimum of 15 minutes, but so it's been about 25. Let's go read the oil level again. Pull it up. This white is really reflecting badly. And this is, I didn't have to wipe it anymore, just pull it up as it was. Read the back side. It's getting closer to the top. So we're gonna do what we usually do, wipe it off. We're gonna stick this in there. Then pull it out again. And read it. There you go. Right above the top hole, according to the front. Let's read the back side. We've noticed that it matters, right? The back side says it's right at the top hole because the top hole is covered. So yeah, there you go. Now we can verify that yes, indeed, it matters how long you wait before doing the read. If you do it immediately, you're going to get a reading that's extremely low, much lower than it needs to be. And if you do, wait for the 15 minutes at least, it's going to be the same as waiting 3 hours, right? Almost the same. Of course, if you let it sit for long enough time, all the oil that you have up there is going to end up draining into the pan. But the manual was written with the consideration that, all the info you need will be able to be read by the stick. So that's it. Again, a long video, but a pretty simple process. But I like to see these cars running. I don't want you guys to screw it up at all. And remember, the distance between the two holes is 1 quart. All right. I'll link my other video on the V8, on the VK45 DE, and the principles of oil checking are the same. All right. Good luck.